Welcome, everybody, to the Ada County Sheriff Podcast. Today I'm joined by my producer and constituent, Matt Todd, and we are going to talk about the state of the jails. So thanks for joining us today, Matt.
Thank you very much for having me. So, again, jails is on the ballot coming up.
Correct. So we have a jail bond for $49 million coming up on November 7th that will be used to build an addition onto our current jail.
Gotcha. A lot of people have been talking about the state of the jails being the problem. I do live in Ada County. I don't even know the state of the jails. So what is the need for this bond?
So the need is kind of twofold. We're running out of space in our current Ada County jail, and there are a lot of reasons for that. But we also are operating the bulk of our jail off a 1995 infrastructure. So we're running out of space for not only inmates, but for goods and kitchen space and laundry space and all those types of things. So that's the two focuses of there are extra beds being put onto this bond, but the infrastructure is a huge part of it.
When you say infrastructure and 1995, like what do you mean exactly? Like the kitchens that exist there were only serving the population from 1995, or like you literally don't have bed frames beyond what you had in 1995? Like what is the infrastructure that needs to be upgraded that's worth the $50 million bond?
Sure. So the last time we ran for bond in Ada County was in 1993 to build a larger jail onto a jail that was built in 1997, which still exists as part of our jail. So we get the bond in 1995. We build a huge extension onto the jail to increase to 500 some beds from 150 some beds. Well, with that bond came laundry, warehouse, kitchen, booking, Sally Port and intake area, all of these things that were not just adding beds, but adding infrastructure to run a larger jail. So from 1995, we go to 2003, and we added, it was the last time we had a big increase in bed space. But that's all it is. It's bed space, right? They add 2 big dormitories, and the infrastructure doesn't change. We have some smaller incremental increases in bed space up until 2013, but we're still with that same infrastructure. So now we're in 2023, which is 10 years ago is when we had the last very small upgrade to bed space, but we have not changed the infrastructure. So that's where we're at today. Added beds over the years, but the infrastructure stay the same. Okay,
so to be clear here then, this is not – people talk about adding beds, right? Mm-hmm. This proposal is not just to add like another dormitory, like another cell block that it's like, okay, this is where people are going to sleep, this is where they're going to sit, this is where they're going to do things. You guys are trying to overhaul essentially everything that allows that to function. So like all of the utilities and all of this stuff that actually deal with keeping people alive and secure.
That's correct. And I think the biggest misnomer is because it's 294 beds is what the bond calls for. And so I think there's a big part of the public that says, well, why would you put 294 more people in there? That is not the goal. We don't want to put 294 more people in there. What we want to do is get people off the floor, be able to separate people a lot easier so that it's a safer environment, so we have a safer facility. So we can take those 294 beds and move people around. But we still need that infrastructure so we can have a good, safe, secure facility and run it efficiently.
Right. So let's take the kitchen, for instance. So essentially you have a cooking capacity of, let's say, 500 people, right? 500 inmates, the original capacity. So if you guys have, let's say, a 300-person increase, let's say you max out essentially what you're looking at, but you haven't upgraded that kitchen, the kitchen or functional facilities that feed people probably can't accommodate another 60% increase, right?
Correct. So here's a good way to put it in perspective. So when that kitchen was installed, it was, again, during that big expansion, it was designed to feed 1,000 meals a day. Today, in 2023, out of that kitchen, we feed 4,000 meals a day. So a kitchen that was designed for a quarter of the of the use is now 4,000 meals versus 1,000, and we haven't. It's the same kitchen, so that's kind of the issue, right?
Understood. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not even talking about, hey, we're nearing our original usage capacity. You have exceeded, in this kitchen example, by 400% the original capacity.
Correct. Right. And that's not the only area. A big area is the warehouse. We have a warehouse that was built in 1995 to accommodate 500 inmates. Now we have 1,116 beds in our jail. Our population is typically over 1,000. So I think for our conversation here, we'll just call it 1,000.
Sure.
We usually have just over 1,000 people in our jail a day. So we have a warehouse space that's 800 square feet, built in 1995 to accommodate a lot less inmates. So
what's in the warehouse? Because they don't.
Sure. Well, think about it, right? This is a town. The jail is a town. It's a group of 1,000 people. Well, it's over 1,000 because you also have staff in there. So you have all these people living there. They have to live there. They have to be clothed. They have to be fed. There's laundry. There are goods and services that have to come in and out every single day. So in the warehouse could be anything from copy paper to toilet paper, cup of soups to Kleenex to soap. People need the toiletries so that they can shower. We need utensils for them to eat with. So it could be any number of things.
So you essentially just envision a house with 1,000 people and
Right.
everything from towels after the shower to the laundry detergent to the pantry to dishes, everything.
100%. We need blankets, mattresses.
You fit all that in 800 square feet?
No, we do not.
I was going to say, God, man.
So yeah, that's the problem. So we have about 7 different facilities outside the jail that we pay for to store.
So
store
you have
off sites.
Okay, but if you're storing stuff that you functionally need on a daily basis off-site, that's kind of the nature of this problem, right?
Yeah, correct.
And you're paying additional money every single month, right? This isn't
Correct.
a freebie, so functionally it's not great and it's not free.
Correct. And also what it does, you think about Costco, right? Why are things cheap at Costco? They have huge buying power because they can warehouse things. We can't warehouse things. So if we have that bigger capacity to store, we can get bigger buying capacity as well. So we might be able to get things at a better deal because we can buy more of them. We don't have that ability right now because all those 7 storage areas off site are full, and then we've stuffed every nook and cranny of that jail. So if you go into our Sally Port area, which is where you bring arrestees in and bring them out of the car, it's a secure area. It's like an indoor parking garage,
Okay.
but it's secure. You go in. I was in there yesterday. There are pallets of copy paper and it's just pallets and pallets of things all over that Sally Port in spaces where police cars are supposed to park to get their prisoners out of the cars. So it creates this inefficiency of movement of inmates. It just doesn't work as well as it did in 1995. So that's just where we're at today with that.
Gotcha. What, from a functionality standpoint, is the overcrowding from supplies and, obviously extended capacity of the kitchen, does that make a riskier, if you have a Sally Port that's designed to have police cars and a certain amount of space when you're actually transporting, violent criminals, violent criminals, does that increase the risk to the actual people working in the jail?
Yes, there are 2 risks. It's a risk to the deputies in the jail, but it's also a risk to the public. So when we transport hundreds of times in and out of the jail every day with a whole group of transport team. We have buses, we have vans, we have cars that we use to transport people to and from court, to and from doctors' offices, all over the county. Well, if all of that is plugged up, which it usually is, instead of being in a secure area to get inmates in and out of cars, we often have to take them outside the walls of the jail into a parking lot outside the jail to get them in and out. Now, statistics will show you that your highest risk of escape is during transport. That's your highest risk. So we're taking risks, unnecessary risks, to get these inmates into cars outside the walls of our jail because this is just a small snippet, but because we have warehouse stuff clogging up an area where transports are supposed to be happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what portion of that, I think you said 49 million, what portion of that would be going directly to infrastructure? Like, is it all accounted for in upgrading infrastructure, or is a portion of it, salaries, or what portion of it does the public reap direct benefit from in improving the jail facility asset?
So the 49 million is a one-time cost. So it won't go into manpower and salaries because
Understood.
It's a one-time cost. It will go into the beds will be one section of it, but a bigger chunk of it will go into infrastructure. So adding beds is not nearly as expensive as adding infrastructure. So those additions that we've done over the years are literally just adding beds. It doesn't cost as much. So the commissioners are able to appropriate the money. But when you look at what we're trying to do with kitchen, new transport area, the laundry, the warehouse, all of those things, that's why it costs more. It's infrastructure. But I mean, you could build a brick house on the edge of the jail and shove it full of metal bunks and try and do something pretty cheap, but the infrastructure is not there to support that.
Right. And bottom line is, if you don't have a way to keep people and move people and function with people safely, that's just going to be an enormous risk that the public and the deputies involved in the employment in the jails, they just don't need to take that risk.
Yeah, I mean, we work in a high risk. Public safety is a high risk area, period. And so we want to try and minimize risk to the public specifically, and our jail population as well. I mean, public safety means that people can kind of live their lives and feel safe in the community and do what they need to do to get through the day. So if we have a safe jail facility, I think we can look at that as people can feel safer in the public knowing that this facility is not going to let inmates out. We'd like to continue the operation of people just don't even know where the jail is. I mean, you look at your average citizen doesn't realize that the largest jail in the state of Idaho is parked right next to the mall. They just don't know. They drive by it 100 times a day, and they don't know that that's the largest jail in Idaho. And we really want to keep it that way, but we need infrastructure to do that.
Gotcha. Now, one more specific question about the cost benefits of this. With things like reducing exterior or auxiliary storage and whatnot, what portion of the 49 will actually decrease the budget because it's a one-time expense, right? Mm-hmm. So if you increase the warehouse space and things of that nature, is there a cost saving for the taxpayer ultimately?
Ultimately, in the long run, yes. Because like I said, you're going to increase your buying power to get more goods that you can store in your warehouse, and you get rid of the offsite storage that we pay for every single month. And let's put it in perspective. The warehouse, 800 square feet. In the proposal for the bond, we're upgrading to 10,000 square feet. So that's what we're really looking at is, here's the need, here's what we have. Those are big differences.
Right.
And so if we can get rid of offsite storage and increase buying power in the long run, that saves the taxpayer money.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Is there anything else about the infrastructure that you think, and infrastructure and state of the jails in general, that you think most people don't know?
Yeah. So there are all these small things that cause issues that why would the public know? But in our booking area, we have a property room that is just for inmate property. So you get arrested and you come in and say you're going to be housed. Oh, geez.
Watch out.
Yeah. So you get arrested and you come in and you're going to be housed. We take all of your belongings, we document everything and package it all up, and we put it in a property room. So again, 1995, 500 beds. That property room is the same size today as it was in 1995, where we have over 1,000 inmates that stay in our jail. So it looks like some steroidal dry cleaner room. It is jam packed with bags of property, just things all over the floor where everything's accounted for, but it is crammed in there. We quite literally have no more space to put more property in there. We've done a lot of innovative things with the space that we have, but it's busting at the seams. So you have those little things. We also want to make a better booking area so that when you come in, we really try and keep low-level offenses for people that are going to bond out. We want to try and help them through that process so they can get in and out of the jail with their court date. So, okay, in our release center for that, in the new booking area, you would come in and say, okay, DUI, possession of marijuana, over there, you're going to bond out. Murderer, armed robbery, over there, you're not bonding out. Right. And get those people processed and out of there quickly. Right now, we don't have that luxury. Everything's all in one, and all the transports that come through all day long are kind of clog that area up. So we have a separate transport area for transports to make it more secure facility, and then a lot more efficiencies to get people out of the jail that are bonding out of the jail.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's a lot. And again, to be clear, the last time there was a big overhaul on this was 1995?
For infrastructure, yes. The last time we had a big bed increase was 2003. And then we had some smaller ones along the way. But it's important to note that we have inmates living in that 1995 space, and over 100 in a dorm, and we have 6 dorms. So what do you do with 100 inmates when you need to really upfit a space for 1995? What do you do with them? So I ask people, okay, you live in a house. It was built in 1995. You buy the house. You're living in it for a year. You're like, hey, this master bedroom's kind of falling apart. The sink in the master bath needs replaced, and so does this closet space. Okay, let's remodel this master bedroom and get it so it's more functional. Okay, sounds good. We'll just move into the bedroom across the hall until this is done. We have no bedroom across the hall, right? There's no place to put 100 inmates to upfit all of these 1995 spaces. The 294 beds allows us to do that. I can't make that resonate more, that the Ada County Sheriff's Office does not want to fill 294 beds with people. That's not what this is about. What we need is more space to move people around, get people off the floor, and repair those parts of our jail that just have to sit idle since 1995.
One quick thing, because I know this is a criticism of improving the quality of a jailing facility. You're saying, hey, we got to get people off the floor. And I guarantee you there are people that are saying, hey, leave them on the floor.
Right.
Leave them on, like, it doesn't matter to me. They broke the law. They did something bad. They're in there for a reason. You can't do the time. You don't do the crime.
Right.
How does that fit into this equation with you?
Well, that is a great question, because I know they're out there too. They make comments on our Facebook page. They make comments back to us.
Facebook, they're not even real people on Facebook. Like, they could be Russian bots.
Yeah, it could be. The guy lives in Saskatchewan.
But the Russian bot made the comment.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you address the Russian bot?
So the Russian bot needs to know that when you have people that you are forcing to live together like that, you get an increase in violence, inmate on inmate violence, and inmate on staff violence. So for those people that don't really care about that, but they care about their taxes, I usually tell them, well, when we have to house all those people together in that area and they are living like that, that violence, inmate on inmate, when the sex offender gets his nose broken by the drug dealer, your taxes pay for that. So think of it that way. If that's the only way you can think, because you don't care about people sleeping on the floor, we have to render medical care to everyone. We're responsible for all of their well-being. So your taxes will still pay for the fact that there is overcrowding.
So from a fiduciary perspective, financial perspective, it's in people's best interest, if they want to save money, to provide a less crowded space, because you can essentially segregate out and separate and more appropriately manage the inmates so that you have less, for instance, injuries, or you have fewer problems that end up costing the taxpayer more money.
Yeah, you could say it that way. I think that's a good way to put it. You we of course don't look at it from a financial standpoint in the public safety realm, but if that's how your brain works, then that's a true statement.
Right. Okay. But the taxpayer is the taxpayer,
Yes.
right? So of course you have the broader, hey, what's the cost to society if we inappropriately house or inappropriately rehabilitate or inappropriately release violent criminals? What's the cost to society? Well, that we can't quantify that, right?
Correct.
But if you're a taxpayer and somebody says, "Hey, look, here's the deal," you're going to pay to have a more appropriately positioned and built facility now, or you're going to pay when that person leaves and commits all kinds of crime, burglarizes people, and then you're going to have far more tax dollars lined up paying for detectives and jail facilities and things of that nature. It's like, yeah, it's going to cost money one way or another.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Okay, all of this being said, great. How much, the bond itself is $49 million. Am I correct on
Correct.
that? Okay.
Correct.
How much does that cost me as a taxpayer?
And we get a lot. I mean, obviously in our surveys, people want to know, how much do I pay as Ada County taxpayer? So the answer to that is about $3.60 per $100,000 of your taxable assessed value of your home. So after homeowner's exemption, you think average Ada County taxpayer, probably $15 to $20 a year.
Okay, so if my house after my home, my primary residence exemption, it's like homestead or homeowners or something, right?
Homeowners, yeah.
So if my home, the taxable value is $500,000, it's $3.60 times 5, so it's $18.
Correct. So yeah, it would be $18 a year for you to fund the jail.
Okay, how long is this bond?
So the bond is 20 years.
Okay, so all I have to do is pay $18 a year for the next 20 years and know that like everything's hunky-dory at the jail.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I mean, hunky-dory, I don't know if that's the word, but
okay, probably a fair point. That's a poor word choice.
but yeah, to make a safer facility for the community, that's what you're looking at.
Okay, got it. That makes sense.
Okay. So anything else that you can think of today? Any questions you have?
No, from an infrastructure standpoint, that makes complete sense.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today on the Sheriff's Podcast, and we'll be wrapping it up. So everybody be safe out there.